Three reasons you never have money. Even if you earn a lot of money, it seems like the money doesn't stay with you, or maybe you just don't earn enough, or maybe you receive money and they disappear. So there is three reasons, usually the main three reasons why you could not hold money in your space, why money don't come to your space. And I will tell you what those are. So the first reason is money is a threat to you. It could be different. Usually this is some kind of patterns. How could this pattern be? For example, in your childhood, your father became super wealthy and he started fighting with your mom. So your parents start fighting, arguing because of the money, and you realize that money is not as good as people usually saying about it. So, or could be even worse, maybe your father became wealthy and he left you, your family, or maybe you guys were such a close family and then the money came in and you all became somewhat not as close. You are not spending as much time with your parents as you used to. So this is reason number one. Basically, you believe that money is the reason why you're not happy, why maybe your childhood was ruined, or why a life of one of your parents could be ruined. It could be something else. For example, maybe your family became wealthy and everybody started asking for money, or could be like one of my clients, not one of my clients, but somebody I know, her father was killed because he was making a lot of money and somebody was envious of his wealth and they basically unalived him because of that. So this could be the reason. You basically, since childhood, even though you want money, your unconscious thinks that money is a threat maybe to your living, to your happiness, to your love, to anything. And unconsciously, whether you want it or not, you will be pushing money away because it is, whether you want to believe it or not, it is a threat in your mind. Observe what you think about big money. Observe how your parents lived and what were the patterns there. Maybe your parents were telling something like, oh, wealthy people are always bad or mean, something like that. So you associate wealth right now with some kind of disgrace, something either unpleasant or disgraceful or maybe threatening, so something like that. This is reason number one. You believe that money is threat to something in your life. Even if if your parents felt disgrace to rich people, you right now in your mind feel like, well, I'm such a good person, but if I will have money, maybe everybody will think that I'm a bad person. So it all happens unconsciously. You might not really think like this, talk like this, but somewhere inside there is a pattern. I would look into your childhood. Usually it comes from the childhood. Now, the second, and even if you will be receiving large sums of money, you probably will start pushing them away or spending or just wasting them just because of this kind of threat. The second reason that you don't have money, that money don't stay in your life, usually is the guilt. So you're feeling guilty for having money. Usually it's not only for the money, for any kind of resources, but you feel guilt. Again, this pattern also comes from childhood, as everything in our life, but this is usually a different kind of pattern. For example, you were brought up with siblings, or maybe with cousins, or maybe with friends, and you were shamed if you would take something for yourself. So for example, your mom would buy you fruits and you would share all those fruits in between themselves. Now if you would take more of a fruit or more of a candy to yourself, your mom would be like, aren't you ashamed to take everything? Why don't you share with your siblings or with your friends or with somebody? So it comes usually like this. So maybe you're on the playground and you're playing with your toys that you brought that are yours, and another child comes in, a masculine born child, and would want to take the toys to play with them, and you don't want to give them away because these are your toys, you came to play with them. But your mom would, or your father, or whoever you came with, would be like, don't be greedy, let another person play. So you start growing up believing that you have to share everything with everybody and everybody has to share with you. So this kind of communal sense of connection with other people. And when you grew up, you're feeling the same. So basically you're feeling that you and your siblings have to be on the same level, you and your friends have to be on the same level, you and the whole society around you have to be on the same level. That's why there is a saying, tell me who are your friends and I will tell you who you are, because whether you want it or not, we still we live in a society, and in that society we basically we're influenced by one or the other. Now what happened next? After you grew up and you start earning money, you start feeling ashamed that you have some and others don't, or you start feeling ashamed that you have a little more than others, like you are not it's like those patterns coming back. Why are you having more than others? Why don't you share what you have with others? Like this, you see, it's a pattern, it's only a pattern. And I was in such pattern myself. I had a pattern like this, even though my parents never really were enforcing being equal, and I have two siblings, but I guess the society were enforcing. I was in the kindergarten since I was very little, so maybe that, or maybe something else, but I felt like maybe if I am making more money than my colleagues and my peers, I would feel somewhat guilty. And I was and I'm pretty ambitious, so in my career I was pretty good, so I was promoted, I was making good money, I was making good bonuses, and every single time I felt guilty after that. So what I would be doing, I would be taking everybody for lunch, I would be buying lunch for everybody again, or I would go out to drink and I would buy drinks for everybody. So I would try to kind of to replenish that lack that they have with my own funds. And it took me some time to get rid of that pattern. So that pattern comes from real childhood, when you are very little, when you're 2-3 years old. So this is when it starts building up. If you have children, do not install in them. Everybody should have their own toys, everybody should have their own candies, everybody should have their own fruits and eat them as they see please. So you basically you grew up and now you receive let's imagine you won a lotto, $1 million in lotto, and you believe that you need to share it with everybody because everybody has to be on the same level as you are. This is obviously a mistake. You don't owe anybody anything. You don't need to do that. But observe that pattern. If you have this kind of shame or guilt, if you go to a family reunion and you're like bringing with you like a designer handbag or something, and you're embarrassed for it, you're like trying to downplay it. Like, for example, oh, this is I bought it in a consignment store, or I bought it on a Poshmark so for a discount or something. Or you will tell somebody else gifted it to me, as long as you don't have to admit that you spend the money, that you have the money to spend. If this is you, then obviously you have this pattern and you need to work on that. That's pretty obvious. So I guess the third reason is maybe the trickiest one, because it's hard for you to catch it. So if the first two are pretty easy, I mean, you just go back to your childhood, you find out the pattern, and it's pretty obvious. The third one is you have a very low self-worth. So if you have a low self-worth, you basically don't believe that you deserve the money, or anything else for that matter. Now that also comes from your childhood. That happens usually in the families when parents are trying not to spoil their children, so they basically enforce some kind of constant work for benefits. So you go to school, you graduated from, you finished the year with good marks, okay, so you deserve a little present. If you didn't, then you don't deserve a little present, and like this with everything. You cleaned your room, here is $10. If you didn't clean your room, you don't get the $10. So basically, your self-worth depends on the work you do. If you grew up in a similar family, or maybe you grew up in a family that didn't have any money at all to give. So, and your parents were telling you, well, when you will grow up, you will make all the money in the world and you can use them. But you are growing up with this self of lack, of that you don't deserve. You see, the child's mind doesn't understand why he or she could not have something. The child's mind could not analyze. It's basically the child is feeling like, okay, so if I'm not given something, that means that I'm not good enough, that I need to do something to be better, so I will receive something. And then you grow up and you're living with this feeling, and you will never notice it until you will kind of start analyzing yourself on a deeper level, maybe with somebody, with a mentor, somebody like me, or maybe with a therapist, so somebody who can really unlock it for you, because it's hard to admit to yourself that you don't believe you deserve some kind of resources. You can admit that you feel selfish, that you feel ashamed for having resources. You can admit that money is sometimes a threat to you, but to admit that you believe you don't deserve the money is a hard trick, and I know that not everybody can do that. Even with my clients, it's really a hard pill to swallow. But this is what happens, and usually, if you notice, it's not only with the money. If you have a low self-worth, it's usually with everything. For example, if you're boarding the plane and they have one business class seat open, and they obviously want to give it to somebody, you will never believe that somebody would be you. Or if you play in the lotto, the regular lotto, you also will not believe that there is this luck for you, or anything. So basically, if there is something free, something desirable but free somewhere coming your way, you will not believe that you are deserving this. In the relationship, if somebody will suddenly start loving you, you will feel awkward, and you feel almost like you need to contribute, you need to do something, so you can basically deserve that love. So this is usually, and I mentioned over here, usually this is the pattern that you need to work hard for anything in your life, and that you're not good enough to receive just because, and that was installed for you in childhood as well. And I put over here, comes from childhood, when no matter how hard you tried, you were not good enough for your mother's love and approval, and this is your perception. So at that moment, all you wanted when you were a child, that you were loved. You see, when the mom gives you a new toy that you wanted, or some kind of treat, you basically know that you're special. Your parents are treating you, your mom is loving you. Now, if the mom doesn't give you, you see, you believe that she doesn't love you. The child doesn't understand that the mom might not have the money, but mom doesn't explain this, and the child thinks that's because the parents are not loving. So this is, as I said, this is a tricky pattern. This is the pattern that's the hardest to work with, but this is very often number one reason why there is no money in your life or in anybody's life. And I see it in my clients often. As soon as they raise their self-worth, as soon as they change those patterns, the money starts coming in fast. That happened to me as well. I think I had all three patterns, and I was able to change it, and money come to me much easier, pleasurable. Obviously, I do what I like to do, and I don't feel any kind of way. I'm not sure whether I'm doing better than my siblings or not, but I don't have an urge to explain myself. I obviously, some of my friends I do better, some of my friends maybe not, but again, I don't feel any kind of explanations to do. I also don't feel threatened by money. Thankfully, in my family there was no such problem, and obviously I worked on my self-worth. So right now I don't have this nagging belief that I need to give something to get something. Obviously I do give because I love to give, but I don't have this feeling any longer, and I hope you will work and also will fix it, and you and the money will start coming to you. Again, doesn't mean whether you receive it doesn't mean that you receive a lot of money, but money not necessarily will stay with you. Like, I have a friend, she's actually a very good specialist. She makes a lot of money, really a lot of money on her savings. I mean, we were just talking the other day on her savings. I was surprised. She said, I don't even have $10,000. So you see, the person who has a lot of money, obviously, and I know which what are her problems, not going to flash them here for everybody to listen to, but you just because she's receiving a lot of money doesn't mean that she keeps that money in her life. And if she will lose the job, I mean, will she even have that kind of money coming in? So you need to fix it. If you want to have money in your life, if you want to have money staying in your life, if you want to live a kind of a fulfilling, like abundant life, you need to fix these issues. And again, if you have questions, you can ask me. But again, just to sum it up, the 3 reasons you never have money. The first one is money is some kind of threat in your mind. The second reason could be threat to anything. Could be threat to your happiness, to your life, or could be a threat to maybe your reputation or something like that. Especially if you were brought up in a super, like maybe unfortunate neighborhood, and now all your friends are not very wealthy, and now you will become wealthy, they would probably laugh at you or something like that. So the first one is the threat. The second one is you feel guilty for having money because you grew up with this communal sense of sharing with everybody, and now you believe that everybody should be on the same level, which is obviously wrong. And the third one is your low self-worth. You just don't believe that you deserve something good, that you deserve resources without doing nothing, or that you even deserve those resources. You had to work hard to be accepted, to be loved, and now you believe that you need to do the same thing for money. So I hope it was helpful. If you have questions, do ask. I will see you in the next video. Bye everybody.